the real first game that I actually, and console that I actually owned for my birthday was the NES. And it was just came out, and I was, I don't know, like 5 or 6 years old. And the first game I got with it was Super Mario Bros. And the first one. And that was actually, still now, one of the biggest shocks in my entire life. Like when I played that game, I remember all my life, the first time I played, I got this little controller, and I saw him jump on a little, mushroom and kill the mushroom. I was like, what is that? And I see a little, like, how you say, a interrogation point, and I'm like, okay, so I jump on it, I see another mushroom, I take it, I go in bigger. It was done for me. That was the best shit I ever seen in my life, I was like, this is amazing. So I completely, I knew this moment that it will be my life. It will be, I wanted to play games, and I wanted also to make games. I wanted to do that. I wanted to make this game. And I was completely in shock. So that was the first big, experience. And since that, I was a pure, hardcore, crazy gamer who could do, I took the plane to see games before everybody when I was 13, 14, in arcade or in a with the console, new consoles, and all that stuff. So I started with the NES, of course, and as I was growing up, I got the Mega Drive, of course, and I have to admit that when Mega Drive came out, I was a big fan of Nintendo and before, and the Master System, the Sega Master System, I preferred the NES. But when the Mega Drive came out, with my age growing up also, I was maybe, I don't know, like 9, 10, at this moment, and I saw Sonic. I was like, that's a Mario killer for me, what I mean?
You switched teams.
So
You switched teams. You were like the whole
completely. I was into Sega like crazy. And because they came with Quackshot, Donald, with Donald, the game Quackshot, it was amazing. With of course all the first game that they got, on the Mega Drive, I was very, very impressed. So I got this period too with Sega, and when of course the Super Nintendo came out, I have to admit that at the first I was not really impressed because it was for babies for me. You know what I mean? Like I was a grown up now. I was 10 years old, So Mario was not really good for me until, and I remember again all my life until like one, I've got all the magazine, every month, and I was watching the pictures and read all the articles, of every game and stuff with a lot of magazine in French, and I remember one magazine that I bought where this month there were not a lot of big games on Mega Drive. And Super Nintendo was out for like maybe a month or two. And I remember all my life opening this book, this magazine, and see a double page with Street Fighter 2, the review, on Super Nintendo. And it was like 96% on 100, like incredible. And I knew this game. Of course, I played it so much on arcade and stuff, and I was like, just for this game, like the Super Nintendo, it's still amazing. And I turned the other page, and it was the Ninja Turtle, Ninja Turtle from Konami.
Yes.
Where you can throw the guy into the screen, with the FX, that the Super Nintendo had. I think it was a System 7 or something like that, if I remember the name. And so I saw all of these games like that in a row, and of course Super Mario Bros. It was Super Mario World, I think. And I was like, okay, I have to buy a Super Nintendo. So I switched again, to get the Super Nintendo, and I loved it. And after I got my period also when I bought the NEO GEO, and this was insane. The problem was the game was so expensive.
Yes.
That it was a nightmare to be able to buy one. So I had to, with like 5, 6 friends, we were buying one game for every 6 months, and we give the game to everybody, and it was the only way to be able to replay these games.
Wait, I have to ask, how did you work that out? Because that takes some friendship to be able to do like some kind of rotation system.
What happened is we got. I'm from a little town in France called Nice. It's in the south of France, and there were only one store that was doing imports of video games. Okay. So, and I discovered import very late, actually. I remember the first game I got import was on Super Nintendo. It was Mickey Magical Quest from Capcom. It was an incredible game. And I remember I couldn't wait 6 months to get that in Europe. So when it was out in Japan, and I knew I could have it, and this store was selling it, I was like, oh, I can't, I can't resist. I have to have it directly. So I bought it, and it was very expensive because it was import. And in this store, the guy who was, the owner of the store was actually a really cool guy. We became very, very good friends. And he had the NEO GEO, and I didn't know what it was. And he showed me that, and I was blown away. You've got the arcade at home. I was like, no way. When I saw all the, the Fatal Furies and all these big games that I played on arcade, I was like, I can have that at home and play them for free as much as I want. That's amazing. But when I saw the price of each cartridge, because it was actually the JAMA card inside, what I mean? It was a real arcade card, just cut in half and put it in the cartridge, So it was so expensive. It was like, if I have to, it was like $200, $300, and like 15, 20 years ago, it was insane. So I couldn't buy that. So what I did is, first I bought some games who were used, so they were way cheaper, okay? So I could catch up, the time, because I didn't buy the console when the console was just out. I bought it maybe, the NEO GEO was out maybe like 2 years already, in Japan. So there were maybe like, I don't know, like 20 games out, and some of them were actually the same price as a Super Nintendo game, but not a lot. And what happened is I catch up the time faster, than them. So in one point, I had to really buy the new games. And I remember the first one that happened was Samurai Shodown, the fighting game, who's one of the best fighting game ever made for me, and especially the first one. And so this one, I had to really sold almost everything I got to be able to buy just that game. And so from that, what I did is we were with this guy and with 3 other friends. We bought each one a NEO GEO, and we were buying one game, every 5 months, and we make it run like that. But we had to vote to be able to buy the game, because if we had to be, everybody agreed, you know what I mean? Because sometimes there is a game out and we don't like it, so we don't want to spend $200 on a game that we don't like. But none of the guy like it. So we're like, dude, we can give you the money, we can authorize you, because we're not gonna buy this one, you know what I mean? So it was very complicated. So sometimes we were finding the game in arcade first, and we were trying out the game to be sure that we can buy it, you know what I mean? So we were spending, I don't know, like $20, $30 for the whole weekend, in the game, in the arcade. And after buying the real cartridge, for the NEO GEO. But yeah, man, it was incredible. It was an adventure, to be able to do all this shit. It was terrible.
This is like a mixture between politics and product testing, because you had a committee. Seriously, you had a committee, and then you would go and do product testing in the arcades, and then you would vote on it, and then you would have to do funding for it, and then if it was approved, then you would get the game, and afterward you still had to go through and then share it amongst each other. I mean, that's fascinating. I think that's incredible. Most people in America, it would be like, no way. We were fighting even if we owned the game. We'd be bored with the game. It's like, hey, I've been playing Temco Bowl for 50, years. Can I borrow it? No, man, I'm playing it. And it's like, no, you guys over there have all types of every, a situation put together. That's why the UN and stuff works over there. We're like, no, just ban the UN. Man, you guys have it together, man. We can't get it together.
That was really, but after, it was this only time that it really happened, because we didn't have any choice. The game was so expensive that there was really no choice. But after that, when I went to the 3D console with the 3DO, because I've got almost every console on the market, because I had to play all of this stuff, because everything was very interesting. So even the 3DO, even the Jaguar, even the after of course Saturns and PlayStation, after I continue on that, but yeah, it was I started very, very young, and I tried to play as much as I could, and and of course computers too. I got my time, you know, where I was playing with Atari ST and Amiga 500, of course, you know, with what was the game? There was so much on with Vroom, with Xenon 2, with there was so many. So yeah, I tried a lot of stuff. Absolutely.